What about living in your city is nothing like the TV or movies would have us believe. At least 2 hours in Jack Bour's day should have been spent in traffic. Yeah, that really detracted from the story for me when he was in La. You can't get anywhere in La in less than 10 minutes. Every story would be next episode. This happens. They are stuck on the 405 inches. I live in Rancho Cucamonga. It's exactly the way it seems in Workaholics. I was born and raised in Las Vegas. Movies and TV shows make it seem like Vegas is comprised of the Strip and only the Strip. The Strip is but a few miles of road that houses a majority of the hotels and casinos. The city itself is miles and miles of shopping centers and master planned communities. Also, not everyone is rich and beautiful and gambles and parties all the time. We're just regular people doing regular people stuff. And honestly, it's a boring place to live. If you're under 21 and can't afford the expensive nightlife activities, there's really nothing to do. Being a teenager in Vegas was excruciatingly boring. As a 20-year-old in Vegas, I can absolutely confirm, as everyone who has ever lived here will say, locals avoid the Strip typically. From what I've experienced, the dive bars throughout town are more fun anyways, and they don't card me. Oakland. We have multiple neighborhoods with multiple million-dollar homes. I don't live in one of them, but they exist. The whistles do go woo though. Not every room of every apartment has a view of the Eiffel Tower, Paris. It isn't pouring rain in Seattle all the time, mostly just gray and drizzly. Didn't rain, didn't not rain, standard Seattle day. I live in Los Angeles. Celebrities also look really tired in the morning, especially when taking their kids to preschool. You'd swear they were almost like real people. Niagara Falls is a much sadder place than Jim Carrey led me to believe. Buffalonian here, we look at our decaying industry and moribund economy and think at least we're not in Niagara Falls. Most residents of South Louisiana don't go around in button-top shoes and suspenders, and most don't commute to work via pirogue. And while they consume more crawfish than out-of-staters, they are also just as likely to go to Taco Bell or McDonald's. Oh, and long-time residents of New Orleans sound nothing like real Cajuns. Also, New Orleans is to Louisiana as Nick is to New York. The city is nothing like anything else in the state. Just drive 30 minutes south of New Orleans and be in Belle Chase or something. Houston is not only made up of fat white people, we have fat people all colors of the rainbow. And we don't even have a freaking space shuttle. There are more Latinos in Texas than TV or movies seem to give us credit for. Also, the whole state isn't one kind of geography climate. We have mountains, beaches, swamps, and deserts. Notably, I hail from West Texas, which looks a lot like the movies, tumbleweeds and all. I live in St. Louis and, to my knowledge, I've never been murdered. My GF lives in STL, and as a regular visitor, I can say that everything is virtually 20 minutes away. South Florida, it's not sunny all the time during the summer. It rains a lot. Generally it's nice and sunny during the morning hours, rains a shitload during the afternoon, and the nights are warm and humid. Also, not every place is South Beach. The Heat do not play in South Beach. Miami is also not just a bunch of Cubans and rich people enjoying the beach. There's a lot of poor areas here and a lot of crime in those areas. One final thing, we do not have front license plates on our cars. They show them on Dexter and it drives me crazy to see front license plates. Island. We don't speak like that and we have infrastructure. We do have a cultural drinking problem though. Don't take my word for it though. I've had a few pints. I'm Irish and I don't drink. We do exist. Can't dispute the cultural drinking problem though. Lima, Ohio is nothing like Glee. They have outdated schools, a dirty town, and their show choir sucks. Grew up not too far from Lima. My Facebook feed exploded with anger when they showed a mall on the show with an escalator. Dublin, Ireland. We don't always go to the pubs. I actually had 3 days last week when I did not go. Have to go tonight though. Champions League is on. It's on tomorrow as well. Damn it. Dublin was the only city I've been to where there were signs warning me to watch out for vomit on the sidewalk in the mornings. It's not the only city that needed these signs. Just a first to be so considerate. The TV show Nashville greatly underestimates the number of hipsters we have in this city. The hipster crowd is almost overtaking the country crowd. Miami, not nearly as many explosions as Burn Notice would have you believe. That's because Horatio stops all of them. Movies about Los Angeles always show two extremes, either the very affluent areas, Beverly Hills, or if it's a gangster flick, the dodgy areas, South LA, when a lot of LA falls right in the middle. Having visited LA, I feel like saying the middle is the street that separates the affluent part of town from the sketchy parts. Was in downtown, took a turn past some nice shops and suddenly I was in Skid Row with hundreds of hobos. Looked like a zombie apocalypse. Yet a block away was nice shops and expensive restaurants. I live in Johannesburg and hardly anyone says fucking prawns ever. Nick, no one can afford to live alone in that huge midtown apartment with wall-to-wall glass at 25 years old. No one's apartment is that big. No one takes cabs that much. Crime is at a record low. I've never seen a mob hit go down in the middle of the street. I have not been mugged or robbed. Not all the women are single, not all the guys wearing suits are rich. Dunno if anyone mentions this but they don't show the scaffolding that is everywhere. Portland, Oregon isn't. Actually, well, yeah, okay, Portlandia is pretty accurate. I've been living in Portland for about 6 months, and I totally feel like I'm living in a Portlandia episode. I do live on Hawthorne though, so I probably did this to myself. Not everyone outside of Pittsburgh and Philly is Amish. Also, Pittsburgh is actually a very clean city and not the smog-infested steel town it once was. Very few crimes are solved by iced tea. San Francisco, believe it or not, it's not 90% gay. I've never seen crack smoked so casually. Running through the London Underground at weekends is a nightmare. In movies it looks so simple. For some reason, all the bloody tourists with no common sense aren't in the movies. I accept that all tourists are not like this, but I won't know you're a tourist if you're walking at a decent pace and not blocking up the passages. As a somewhat recent tourist to London who exclusively used the tube to get around the city, those tourists are buttholes. Seriously, find a spot out of the way to check your map if you're lost. It's not hard, but it does take consideration for those around you, and it's mostly cloudy in Philadelphia. I've never met a werewolf on the London Underground. That's because they are all at Trader Vic's. Maine isn't a Stephen King novel or a murder, she wrote episode. Our murder rate is pretty low. People should have stopped inviting Angela Lansbury to social functions after slaying 2, maybe 3. Nick, in movies TV shows the flow of people moves along nicely and without ceasing. They never depict the people that are loitering around for no apparent reason. Columbus, oh, it's actually a city, not a farm. Columbus, yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. Also our art scene is seriously awesome. Denver, people live here, you'll just never guess, because I don't think I've ever seen a single movie or TV show take place here. I was going to say Mork and Mindy, but then I remembered that it took place in Boulder, not Denver. Then I also realized that the show aired well before most Redditors were even born, and I developed a sad. Las Vegas gets really chilly in the winter. I crack up when I'm on the strip in January and see tourists in shorts and shirts, freezing their asses off because they thought it would be tropical or hot. Spain, no, we're not into bullfighting. Mariachis are from Mexico. The run of the bulls happens in July, not every day. We don't have a fricking fiesta every day, just on Friday nights. Semicolon. Northern Spain is pretty dang cold. Barcelona Catalonia hates being considered Spanish. You know, independence and whatnot. Same for the Basque country. You also have the weirdest dinner hours ever. This coming from your friendly neighborhood Portugal. Australia. Only about 63% of the things are trying to kill me. Chicago here, and Lincoln shows set here. We don't walk around awkwardly shoehorning references to local hotspots and suburbs into our conversations. Hey, my friends from Arlington Heights are coming in tomorrow, so meet us at UNOS. But, I work in Arlington Heights. Dallas. Nobody wears cowboy hats or drives a giant Cadillac with bullhorns on the hood. We do say y'all, because it's a useful goddamn word and y'all are missing out. I moved from the East Coast, NJ, to Oklahoma. I die a little inside every time I say y'all, but it is such a convenient second person plural, I can't help myself. Tokyo. You think you can do that drift crap here? Ain't no room to even breathe here. San Francisco is not consistently warm and sunny like TV movies make it out to be. It's usually 10 degrees cooler than the cities around it and there's almost always fog, at least in the morning. I'd say the average temperature is between 55-65 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hilarious to see tourists come here in the summertime, when it's usually colder, in shorts and tank tops just because people think it's sunny. San Diego here. It's not really that classy. Atlanta, there really aren't zombies everywhere as portrayed in Walking Dead. Yet. The biggest movie myth, mostly seen in TV shows, is how there's always going to be a parking spot right in front of the building you need to go into. Minneapolis here, yes, it snows in the winter here, just like most the US, but in the summer, we're just as hot and humid as any place else. Raleigh is actually a nice, artsy sort of city. We aren't filled with backcountry hicks, at least not most of the time. The South isn't quite that weird. I lived in Raleigh for a year and had a wonderful time. Lovely, progressive city with great weather, terrific food, and smart, fun, interesting, nice people. Just a great place. Toronto, we aren't in fact any city in the United States they feel like calling us that day. Same for Vancouver. I'm from New Jersey. Don't even get me started. I'm from South Jersey. I've given up on even trying to defend the state anymore. I'm not orange. I'm not a Guido. Not even Italian. But I can't argue there are a lot of them. I'm not loud and obnoxious. I don't live in a McMansion. And I don't live next to a refinery dump rail yard port. Purple bananas, like for good luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.